All right, we're actually recording this time. So, on this Unit 1 assessment, I just want to talk about a couple of things. I've received emails today, and I'm going to address those, put it on the video, and upload it so people have an answer to kind of the questions I've been getting. First, this top part up here is confusing for some folks because I talk about colleges and universities still accepting ACT scores for admission, and some don't. And then I go on and talk about how states are held accountable for federal money by ACT scores, among other things. All that means is this, you know, the federal government gives the states so much money toward education every year. Part of the data they use to determine how much to give is based upon states being able to use certain testing measures to show that their students are achieving at a certain level. Well, in Kentucky, since all juniors in the state of Kentucky take the ACT is one of the big things that we use, right? Makes sense. Now, the problem was last year, the ACT is given in the second week of March. Last year we were getting hammered by the pandemic by that time in March. And if you recall, it was at like the end of that week was when we shut down. March 13th was our last day with students. That was at the end of the week after they took the ACT that week. You know, so they kind of held in until we got the ACT finished. So anyway, you can imagine how that would affect student performance, right? So the federal government gave what they call a waiver. And in that waiver, they said, okay, we're not going to hold states accountable to these high stakes testing because of this pandemic. Okay? Paraphrasing here, what they said was, we're going to give you the same amount of money we gave you last year. And you don't have to prove anything with testing in order to get the money this year. Got it? So, what I'm asking you to do is think about this. No decision has been made about granting a waiver for this year, 2021. Right? There are some rumblings that there will be no waiver, and then there are some hints and so on that there will be a waiver. So apparently they're going back and forth, and probably some of it will depend on the election coming up. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, here's this. I want you to write a letter to Secretary Betsy Devos. She's Secretary of Education. Okay? And in the instruction, I say, are you in favor of either granting or denying another standardized testing waiver? Notice I didn't say you're for or against. There's a slight difference in the language, but it changes how you address this. I want you to always be positive. I want you to be for something, not against it. We have way too many people who are against this, against that, against the other. I want you to be for something and know why you're for it. Is that fair enough? You're for granting another waiver, or you're for denying another waiver. And you're going to give your reasons why. Okay? Now, we're going to follow this rubric. There's nothing new here. Okay? All right. It's going to follow the appropriate business letter format. And I attached one to the assignment that tells you what it is. And all you got to do is Google business letter format, and you'll get, 100 results. Your introductory paragraph will have background and thesis. The rest of this is all normal stuff. Other than the format for the letter, it's just like an argument essay. And I want you to understand that. You got an introductory paragraph with your background and your thesis. Your body paragraph, you only have 2 body paragraphs, which is what we started focusing on already, if you recall. Right? 2 body paragraphs. Topic sentence, support/evidence, explanation. Now I got an email like at 8:30 this morning, I don't even know what this meant. Explanation times 2, what does that mean? 2 sentences of explanation. Not 2 different explanations, 2 sentences of explanation. You remember from the videos? What did they keep saying in the videos? Make your point, right? Provide your evidence, and then 2 sentences of explanation. And we do that twice. We give 2 pieces of evidence to support what we're saying up here in our topic sentence. with me? Do that for the second paragraph. Got our two body paragraphs. And that's what we're gonna be doing all year. We're gonna focus on those. Were y'all in here when I had the student come in and talk to you the other day? Was that this period? One of my students was going down the hall from last year. One of my students from last year was going down the hall, and I stopped him. And I said, hey, you got a minute? He goes, yeah. I said, come in here and tell these students, he made a 5 on the exam last year. I said, come in here and tell these students what the secret was to making that 5. Okay. He said, I used the two body paragraph model that you taught us. So, that's it. I mean, there's a little more to it than that, but I just want you to know, it works. As a reader, I can tell you it works. Now, anyway. So we do our body paragraph 2, which is the same thing. It's got a little transition, topic sentence, support, explanation, explanation, support, explanation. Now, let's go to the conclusion. Here's what we do in the conclusion. All right, we do not necessarily need to restate what we said. That's kind of a lame way to do it, right? So we don't need to restate that at all. You don't need to tell them why you wrote the letter. And they figured out now why you wrote the letter. So you don't need to restate that. Just 1 second, if you will. I'm recording here. So don't block me out there. All right, thank you. So what we want to do in our conclusion, the most important thing we do in our conclusion, is make the connection to the wider audience. You've already focused here, right, to Secretary Devos. We know who your primary audience is, but remember, when we're talking about an audience, we always have a secondary, if not a tertiary audience. The secondary audience is the wider audience. In other words, you know you're going to be explaining from a student's perspective why you want whatever it is you want to happen. Got that? You're going to involve the community. That's going to be part of your evidence, you know, the impact on the community, the school system, all of this. In the end, you're going to make sure that you tie all of this together and connect it to the wider audience of why this matters to everybody in our state. Not just to you as an individual, not just to high school students, not just to public school students, why this matters to everybody. And it does. You got to make that connection. That's where you sew it all together. All right, what questions do you have for me? I'm not that good. You got to have questions. All right, very good, guys. You know what to do. Have at it. I'll turn this off and cut you loose.